Yeah, I mean, everyone knows I'm the Green Day guy, so I think it's gonna be no surprise that I absolutely love this record. It's one that when it first came out, I actually had no idea about it. I was still relatively young then. I think I was in like middle school when this came out, 2008. Um, out of nowhere, I was like, oh, here's this new band made up of the members of Green Day and some of their touring members. And to be honest, at the time, I was kind of like blown away by it. It was very different for them. I mean, it's very garage rock, occasional surf rock, and a little bit of psychedelic influence thrown in places. And this is something that was recorded by them within really a couple of days. Uh, just got together with their friends, decided, this is when they were writing 21st Century Breakdown, this huge, uh, this grand rock opera that they were working on. So they were like, yeah, let's just write this fun little album, tour it a little bit. They did like small club tours. They were all like 21 plus. They were, if you look at the videos of that tour, they were pretty crazy shows. I mean, everyone on stage was like trashed at the time. Pretty crazy. But if we want to go into like song by song, this album has, to me, a big five of the record. And two of them are the first two songs. I mean, Stop, Drop, and Roll. This really kicks off the album in a super energetic way. Very, very garage rock on this. This is actually probably the most mainstream song on the album. I mean, it was in the movie Get Him to the Greek, if anyone remembers that from, I believe, like 2010 with Russell Brand and Jonah Hill. Great movie. Absolutely will still plug that one. So that was in there. I thought that was really cool at the time to hear that. But yeah, kicking in with this, it's great. Going into Mother Mary, which is a very different sounding song, has a lot of like 60s sounding groove on here. Billy's voice sounds absolutely fantastic on this recording, specifically throughout the whole album, I would say, but specifically this song. His voice really shines on it. I got lucky enough to see Green Day actually play this on the 21st Century Breakdown tour. And he's great live too. Then Ruby Room, this one's also really good. Those first two songs were tens. If I didn't make that clear enough. Ruby Room, here's where some kind of like more different elements like keyboards are kicked in on here, some keys, and they really add a lot to it. Adds a bit of like a psychedelic vibe, just ever so slightly, not enough to turn me off to it. It's not as good as the first two tracks, but I still really like this song. It has a really good chorus. It's a 9 for me. And then we go down to what I'd say the lowest point of the record for me. And it's still a good song. There's not a bad song on this record. But this one, Red Tide, it goes to a 7 for me. It's just a very chill song. I will say sonically it does break up the record in a pretty nice way. So it's not just all here's your 12 super upbeat songs. Breaks it up very nicely. It's a very nice, like just chill out, zone out song. Kind of has some like surf rock vibes going on in there too. And then going to Broadway, continues that kind of surf rock sound, but also merges like that old school garage rock 60s influence on it too. The harmonies on this are killer. I love those. It really helps fill out an otherwise instrumentally relatively simple track. The drum fills on here from Trey, though, are fantastic. But it is one of the more repetitive tracks, so it sits at an 8 for me. Really great song, but could do a little bit more. Then we go to one of my other big five here in She's a Saint, Not a Celebrity. This is one of the most fun songs on the album. The background rhythmic keys that go into that groovy riff that lead into the verse, very well executed. So much fun. It has like these lead guitar frills that happen throughout the album, or not the album, the song, and it just keeps it exciting. That guitar solo too, it's very 60s surf rock. Just a super fun track, great way to end side A of the album. And that's one thing with this album that I like is it came out in 2008, and yeah, records still have side A and side B to them, but they really treated this as if it came out decades prior, in actually having a really good divide between side A and B here. Going into Sally, kicking off side B, almost kind of reminiscent of the Doors in a way, if they had a little more punk edge to them. Really love the vocal melodies on this one. Pretty different melody style from Billy than his usual work. Chorus is great. Kind of sits in a similar area to Ruby Room, where it just doesn't hit that absolute top tier, but it's a 9 for me. I love this one. It's so much fun to like drive around to. Then we go to Alligator, where this one's interesting to me because the instrumental on here is probably the weakest of the record instrumentally, I will say. But vocally, the vocals, the melodies, and the harmonies on this more than make up for that for me. I actually really like what he's doing vocally here. Brings it up to an 8. It's not in the top tier of the record.
Wait a minute.
Like some people, what?
That wasn't "You Really Got Me" by the Kings.
I'm gonna get to that.
Maybe I was confused. I'm sorry. I thought that was "You Really Got Me" by the Kings. I'm sorry.
It's all about the influence, Mike. That's what this album's about.
I got you. All right. I was just confused. I thought I was listening.
But yeah, no, it's 100% right on with that. But very much like this, it could do more instrumentally to set it, like you said, set itself apart from other songs. But then it goes into The Pedestrian, which is the first song I heard by Foxboro Hottubs. This is my personal favorite on the album. This one could easily be a Green Day song. Wouldn't surprise me if this was like a leftover from some other writing sessions for Green Day. The vocal melody is one of my favorites he's ever done in general. It's so good. The guitar solo on this one is melodic, fun. It actually like goes places. It doesn't just exist to fill space. This is a great track. Everyone playing on this does an incredible job. Guitar, drums, bass, vocals. Top tier song. 27th Avenue Shuffle will take a slight step down to a 9. It's a fun old school song. It has great harmonies on it. I really like the call and response vocals going on. And then the album ends with 2 of the other top 5s here for me. Dark Side of Night, believe it or not, for someone who generally doesn't like this style, this is very much like something that like the Doors would put out, and even has hints of the Moody Blues in there. And it works for me. Shockingly, but something about just how smooth this song is and how well it flows just really works for me. I love the incorporation of instruments they generally don't use. I think the vocal melodies are really nice and calming, and it's a great way. And I like that this wasn't the closer. It's a great lead-in to the only way I can imagine closing an album like this, and that's with the killer ending of Pieces of Truth, where it's just a fun, like, smack you in the face, a fun garage rock song. Honestly, reminds me of something that like the Who would do. Reminds me like one of the better, more like rockin' songs that the Who would do. The backing vocals on this come through so smoothly, and they blend incredibly well. Having that saxophone solo is just so much fun. It's well done. It doesn't just feel shoehorned in. I love this song. This is a killer ending to just a fun, short album. And I like that it doesn't overstay its welcome. It comes in, it does what it needs to do, and it ends. Is it perfect? No. Overall, I'd give this a 9 out of 10 for the whole album. It has some absolutely incredible songs on it. It's just such a fun snapshot of where the band was at the time, just needing a break from recording a giant rock opera that's, some would say about 21st Century Breakdown, overproduced, the most produced thing they've ever done. To go and do something like this is just such a fun little breakaway moment for them, kind of like the Network was right before American Idiot. But this is more fun, and it's more accessible, an easier listen, and my favorite side project they've ever done. 9 out of 10 on this.